If you want to talk about things that don't go my way... Oh shit, hold on. Yeah, that's about it. Okay. If you want to talk about things that don't go my way. In 2012, Aaron Hansen and John Jafari started the Let's Play web series called Game Grumps. John Jafari and Aaron Hansen were longtime friends, and their other friend, Ross Donovan, who's an animator, had mentioned that they should have a web series because they talk about, like, they get grumpy over video games a lot. Long story short, John did not stay with Game Grumps, as you know that. He left in 2013, so it was like about a year after the show was created, because he wanted to pursue his own solo show as well. Dan Avedon took his place. Now, none of that is really pertaining to this video. I'm just like laying some ground level shit, because this is where Dan Avedon and Ninja Sex Party, or NSP, is kind of coming to the forefront. This was definitely post-Revenge Prawn BOTDF era. Just graduated high school, moving on to college, definitely got out of that Screamo era, and was trying to move on, be more adult. What was I trying to say? I hate to say that I was a Game Grump fanatic. I annoyed way too many people with referring to a lot of their jokes. You could catch me on campus a lot watching Game Grumps animated or rewatching my favorite episodes from playthroughs that they made. I was hooked, to say the least. My hair is getting hot. Hold on. Right after learning a lot about the Game Grumps, as much as I could about the Game Grumps, that's when I started learning about Ninja Sex Party. Danny was my favorite Game Grump. He was my favorite because he was like the not so grump. He was very like chillax. Ninja Sex Party started in 2009, and they claimed the main story of NSP is a Jewish superhero who wears a unitard with his best friend who is a ninja, and together they sing songs about dicks and tried to hit unsuccessfully on women. In the band, it consisted of Danny Sexbang, not Danny Avedon, that's like his alter ego, Danny Sexbang, and Ninja Brian, who is played by Brian Wecht. Brian Wecht is like an astrophysicist who quit his job to work at Game Grumps. If I were married to an astrophysicist and then the first thing that they decided to say was like, hey babe, I'm quitting my job to make content. Their first album, NSFW, was released in 2011 with all original songs and songs that were previously released on YouTube. Dinosaur Laser Fight was on there. For some reason, the only ones that I can remember, If We Were Gay, No Reason Boner. I know that there is a part where in No Reason Boner, Danny Sexbang is like walking through a zoo and he inadvertently gets a no reason boner while looking at monkeys, I think. I have obligation to say this as Danny Sexbang from If We Were Gay. I have to laugh. Ha 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 ha. Could you imagine that? If we were gay. Could you imagine? A newborn deer runs through a field. A rainbow shines from heaven. A child smiles, lights up, boom. As Brian blows a dude. That song was so unnecessarily 2010s, and that it came from a very musty, dusty time capsule. The entire joke for the song was Brian's gay. The entire second half of the song is just talking about what Brian likes to suck, and Brian likes a sack, Brian's gay, you're gay, I'm gay. The song ends with my balls and dick, 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 and then it ends with a poison dart because Ninja Brian. This feels more of a confession than the last one. 2013, they released their second album called Strawberries and Cream, which actually reached 9th on Billboard's comedy album charts. On that album, there was FYI, I Wanna F Your A. I'm hearing it in my head. It's there, but it's not there all the way. Symphony in P minor, and then Best Friends Forever were also on that album. The album cover, it's a yeast infection. Ninja, Brian, Danny Saxbang, 3 women are in like a pool that is just whipped cream. It's whipped cream, plastic-ish strawberries. If you ever are a fan of the Key of Awesome, the #1 Key of Awesome girl, her name is Miss Lauren Francesca. If you saw her face, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because she was in so many, not only Key of Awesome things, she was in a lot of early 2000s music videos on YouTube, a lot of YouTube comedy sketches. I think that she considers herself a comedian and an actor. She was used for the aesthetic, not for her comedic prowess. I give my props to her, because not only was she in the Key of Awesome, was also on the album cover for Strawberries and Cream. Probably used her for her breast efforts. Can I say that? I'm sorry. She's also in 2 of their music videos. I'm just kind of like glossing over those, because technically NSP isn't made into the NSP that became big and popular until they met up with their backing band, which was Tupperware Remix Party, which has now shortened itself to TWRP. TWRP. Canadian rock, synth pop, electro, funk rock band that consists of 4 costume guys: Dr. Sung, Lord Phobos, Commander Meouch, and Have Hogan. It's a fever dream. Imagine going to a concert, like somebody drags you to a Ninja Sex Party concert. You're already on the fence because it's Ninja Sex Party, and then 4 dudes that are all wearing like giant costume heads and like weird leotards. One's playing a guitar. They all come out on stage. They're like the backing band for Jewish superhero Danny Saxbang and Ninja Brian. 2 hours staring at these weird. Not me being like, it takes me right back to 80s hair bands. I'm 28, okay? I was born in the 1900s, but not those 1900s. Van Halen, some era of Bon Jovi, Kiss. What is the name of the band that wrote Cherry Pie? Warrant. Big hair, the real like leather print and like ostentatious costume. That's basically what like this band and the backing band is, with like all the ostentatious costumes and like all of the textures and prints and stuff. I love that shit. Their backing story or their lore, as stated by Dr. Sung, who looks like a traffic cone. They are travelers of space and time, so they're basically from the future and the past at the same time, where the self-proclaimed doctor, what is he a doctor of? I have no clue. You know what? With the way that this lore goes, he's probably a doctor of like space and time, or he's love doctor. That's the only 2 options that I have for him. Dr. Sung found each of his members, so like Meouch, Phobos, and Have Hogan, and bonded through the power of music, I'm assuming. They were already like their own personal band, and then NSP was kind of doing their thing in 2013, and then the 2 of them culminated together in 2015. TWRP later became the opening act and then the backing band for NSP for a lot of their live performances and studio releases for their upcoming albums. We're getting to the era. With NSP and TWRP coming together, they created their first studio release together, which was Under the Covers Volume 1. Cover of Volume 1 is wild. Danny Saxbang is all about like sex appeal and stuff like that. That's an interesting one. So 2016 was the release of NSP's cover of Take On Me, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. They recorded their music video on like their tour bus. Don't send me back to that era. Somebody like snap me out of it right now. Like somebody grab me by the shoulders and shake me. So I said that Everybody Wants to Rule the World was on there. Your Love was on there. The second one that came out in 2017, that was my ish. let me go ahead and take a break, like a breather, and talk about Game Grumps, okay? Because we have receipts, guys. We're not gonna give NSP too many props. Let's take a second and talk about how racially charged this group of white people actually are. And this is not something that's alleged or anything like that. This is cold, hard evidence that is all over not only YouTube, but also there's a subreddit called Grumps. It's also been mentioned on their Game Grumps official Reddit. It's pretty much everywhere. Like, it's very hard to deny and very hard to hide. I'm sure that they've made like apologies for it, but if they did, then I didn't see it anywhere in my research. So let's just dive in, why don't we, okay? Starting off with the oldest version of this that I can find. It is in a Animal Crossing City Folk playthrough when John Jafari was still part of the team. In it, Aaron yells the N-word and they end up censoring it with an elephant trumpet. I give credit to this YouTube compilation of Game Grumps. That's John and Aaron saying the N-word various times, kind of going back and forth. Sonic 06, it was in Banjo-Kazooie. Not only that, it wasn't just John and Aaron. Han even mentioned that he almost let the N-word slip when they were playing Breath of the Wild. It's like the part where the king, when he's like using the parasail and he like drops in and he's like, "What's up, bitch?" And he's like, "I almost dropped that N-bomb." That would have been a career ruiner. He's still part of the playthrough that is on their YouTube channel now. Someone from the Reddit page Grumps had mentioned that Dan's latent racism, and they described him as a casual racist that he excuses or justifies with like Gen X sensibilities, which is a wild statement. Dan, Aaron, John, Danny, and Susie, who is Aaron's wife, have been seen on social media being sort of racially charged, should I say. They were previously very neutral in the fact that they hadn't done it yet, so there was no reason to claim them as bad, but people still justify as all their neutral stuff as being good stuff. It's not just the Game Grumps. I don't know why these white people are so comfortable with such horrific vernacular. They don't even have a black person on their team. Nobody gave them a pass. Nobody said it was okay. And yet, I hadn't been witness to a lot of it because it was kind of just behind the scenes. By the time that I found out about all of this stuff, I can claim some sort of ignorance here. I was already out of the fandom, and then hearing about all of this is like, oh, so you guys really didn't care. And that would be a great time to just take a screenshot of all the controversies that I found on Grumps. It wasn't just the racist word that they used. There was the support and inclusion of like now PDF files on the platform. Known flops with charity streams, the Leadfoot doxing incident. There was also their lack of communication and consent with other company members regarding merch. That just seems like an internal issue and they never really fixed that. They never addressed it either. The way that they talk to their own fans compared to how they talk to like their own members, the really diehard fans who were so into it that they were actual harassing these people. They have like the crazy stalkers. You can say that it's like a personal business for Game Grumps, but if you're a content creation business and like your entire thing about being a content creation business is to be a public business, you're posting like in-office videos, you're also having all parts of your business be content creators, you're having people go to these former businesses, you know, when you were having your yard sales, your garage sales as the Game Grumps, there's not really a sense of privacy anymore. Like, if you're a business, all your business is public knowledge now. Check the list. Content houses and content businesses gone public have not done well. Okay? Like, that's about it for the SparkNotes version of the Controversy Corner. okay? Just wanted to touch base on a lot of the things so we know what we're dealing with when I bring up Game Grumps or Aaron Hansen again, because Aaron Hansen's coming back into the picture. Of course he is. All of that information, Danny and Brian, they decide that they are also willing to start a trio band with Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps. It's called Starbomb. Starbomb, they were formed in 2013, is more so like video game nerd culture rap songs. They made Don't Go Alone, Take This, they made that into a rap song. Mortal Kombat, they made Mortal Kombat High School. They did Super Smash, which is Super Smash Bros. They did Mario and Luigi, which was kind of like a tandem ballad to Peach to see who would date them. And then she's like, Toad. And they're like, Toad? And he's like, yeah, because he's shaped like a... laugh now. They did Pokemon, talking about like the next generation of Pokemon, where like it just keeps getting like wilder and wilder ideas, which they were like ahead of their time, because when they made that song, it was before the trash bag Pokemon, the Klefkis and Sandagast were created. After Starbomb, 2 years later, 2015, is when Twerp joined NSP as the backing and headliner for NSP's tours. We've got a lot of names going on in this because Starbomb, NSP, and Twerp end up all going on tour in 2017 for the Rock Hard tour. That is the tour that I went to. I came to the... I loved it. I took my friend. Starbomb was formed in 2013. They stopped creating music in 2019, 2 years after the Rock Hard tour. And then they just got back into music again in 2023 to now. Hopping back to NSP in their Under the Covers Volume 1, they got like a lot of popularity from this cover album. They debuted on the Billboard charts at number 9 in top album sales, number 2 in independent, and number 3 in rock albums. And then they hit 17 in the top 200. So they were doing fantastic when it came to this cover album. I don't know if it was like the fan base, but it was like enough crossover from like people who like listening to cover bands and people who were already fans of NSP, and they just kind of like culminated and they struck gold with that one. So then they did it again. In 2017, they released Under the Covers Volume 2. The tracks that I listened to on repeat from that album were definitely Pour Some Sugar on Me, Heat of the Moment, yeah, Mystery Spot, Rocket Man, and You Spin Me Right Round. Now, I will talk about two specific parts in Pour Some Sugar on Me that made it so different from the original. In the lyric Mirror Queen Mannequin Rhythm of Love, Danny actually adds like an extra syllable. So he goes, Mirror Queen Mannequin Rhythm of Love. Don't ask me why that made me go batshit insane, but that was... And then following it up with like, loosen up. And it's like, even now I'm like getting lightheaded, guys. Like, somebody check on me after this video. And then towards the outro of the song, in the recording version of it, Danny goes, come get it, come get it. And in the music video, Danny does like this, like the very nerdy hip thrust thing. And then he sang it live, and it was just like, oh. If it was Dan related, I was listening to like the Dan Out of Context. I was listening to all of the best of Game Grumps and trying to remember all of Dan's funny stuff from each one, which is a wild concept. Girl, learn your parasocial relationships. Where I was like, I'm going to become a Game Grump. Red flag number 1. I'm going to marry Dan Avidan. Red flag number 2. I'm going to go on tour with Twerp and NSP. Red flag number 3. I'm going to sit in on a Game Grumps episode between Dan and Aaron. Like, what the hell was I thinking? Honestly, what was I thinking? Who thought that? Who thought that? Other songs on this album were Africa, More Than a Feeling, Limelight, Something About You, In Your Eyes, Don't Lose My Number, I Wish in Your Wildest Dreams. Now, yes, I will now mention that I Wish is the Stevie Wonder song where he talks about growing up as a black child. And, you know, it's not really like a niche kind of growing up type of thing. But at the same time, it was important to Stevie Wonder to produce said song. You know, probably asking, how did NSP bypass this? Well, I will tell you, very captive audience, so you stay right where you are. He says, moppy-headed boy instead of nappy-headed boy. Yeah, like that's it. That was and that was the only thing that changed out of all of it. I get it, it's a cover song, but that's it. Now, is it a little odd? Maybe a little bit. But is it the worst thing? I would also say no. I know at the time when NSP released the song, they had like a little bit of backlash, you know, for covering Stevie Wonder's song at all. It wasn't that they said they wouldn't do it, but Danny mentioned that Wonder's experiences were open for anyone's interpretation, and he had a similar growing up. Like, I'm not fighting it, I'm just mentioning it. It's a cover band. They were covering songs. Could they have chosen another white person song? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the only way that I'm going to answer that. Let's circle back to NSP. This was the only Game Grumps event that I ever went to. Twerp, NSP, and Starbomb were all in attendance. During that concert, towards the end, they also revealed their Rocket Man music video, which was visually stunning. In 2018, the band announced their second tour, which was the Tour de Force, and released the music video for Danny Don't You Know, which featured Finn Wolfhard, who played young Danny. Talking about like how cool like older Danny actually is going to be, and how he doesn't have to worry about not being cool at his young ass age because he's gonna be way cooler as an adult. Isn't that sweet? It doesn't stay sweet. Wolfhard had guest starred on an episode of Game of Grumps in 2017 during the popularity of Stranger Things Season 2. And he was 15 at the time. I'm not going to side-eye, but NSP released Cool Patrol, which was their second original song since the Under the Covers album in 2018, August 2018. They also confirmed that Don't Fear the Reaper, Sledgehammer, Glory of Love, Down Under would appear on Under the Covers Volume 3, which was released in November 2019. Aside from those that I just mentioned, the other tracks on Volume 3 were We Built the City, Photograph, Always Something There to Remind Me, which is another good one, Closer to the Heart, Nights on Broadway, Owner of a Lonely Heart, When You Were Mine, Safety Dance, I Won't Back Down. Following their release of Volume 3, they premiered another original song, The Mythical Crystal. It's their longest song at 12 minutes. Not saying that I don't have a long enough attention span for that, but like, you're telling me that I would listen, like, I could drive to work in less than 12 minutes. You're telling me that my entire trip to work would consist of just that one song? They also released a music video, The Decision Part 2, 10 years later, to celebrate the band's 10-year anniversary, in which they also revealed the title of their next original album, The Prophecy. Then we reached the worst part of my videos. Twice in a row. Following all of this popularity, a Redditor made a post in which she explained that her first interaction with Dan was when she was 17, and she ended up having a sexual relationship with him when she was 22. The full transparency of this situation, in it, she says that they talked when she was 17. So she like messaged him being like a really eager fan, super excited, was surprised that he messaged back. They were just having a very casual conversation. As soon as she turned 18, or she turned of a legal age, should I say, that conversation kind of took a flip, and it was no longer like a casual conversation. It was definitely geared in a sexual manner. And then he had convinced her to meet him. She met him, and then they had a short-term sexual relationship, and then he ghosted. Daniel, I'm calling him by his legal name, which actually his legal name is Lee Daniel Avidan, had said in response to these allegations, "I stand by the fact that any interactions that took place of a sexual nature with the person in question were done so when she was 22 years old and we were both consenting adults." He also stated, "To claim I engaged in any predatory behavior is simply untrue. I have made mistakes in the past and I apologize if my actions or words ever made anyone upset, but those mistakes were never ill-intentioned, exploitative, or illegal in any capacity." Okay. While, yes, that... hold on, let me finish this part and we'll get into my 2 cents a little bit, okay? The Redditor who made that post explaining her relationship with Danny, she stated that she didn't believe she was groomed, but that Dan's actions were an abuse of power. Lee Daniel Avidan denied grooming allegations. You don't have a lot of people that are like, actually, you know what? You don't have a lot of people admitting to that. After acknowledging and confronting that allegation, more actually came forward. That Redditor wasn't the only one. This actually unveiled a pattern of Mr. Lee Daniel Avidan. One anonymous user shared a video she received from Dan talking about fucking in a hot tub. He then followed up with asking her how she'd like to be, oh my god, fucked in said tub. While I wish that there was just 2, like even that's bad, but like I wish it wasn't more. But following that, more experiences actually came up. My video assistant is very upset with me because I brought the cat in. Alright, go to bed. And then, you know, it kind of got like muddied, some of the allegations. There were some that were suspected as being untrue, which in the fandom of Game Grumps, I will say it's not often that a woman or a person of color in the fandom is either heard or believed. But that's just a legend, baby. Who said that they just catered to the straight white man? Who said? Who said? Nobody said that. Shut up. Following all of these allegations, they did not go over well in the Game Grumps community. In the same fashion as BOTDF, it was allegations without proof, or still just allegations. Plus, if you have anybody who's a diehard, they're always going to believe the idol themselves, not somebody in the fan base. Just talking about it, people learn more about it, so they can like see the signs at, you know, something. Also, at the same time, long-standing editor Barry, I forgot his last name. Barry, editor me, you're just gonna have to put his name in here, announced his exit from the company, so there was like a lot of extra drama. Barry had mentioned to Aaron that he didn't like the direction that the company was going into, because he originally thought that it was supposed to be geared towards like content creators as a whole, gaining more content creators, not just becoming content creators as the business, allegedly. Game Grump fanboys, diehards, were very adamant in harassing belittling the experiences of these young women. I mean, you have multiple voices that are saying that, hey, this thing happened to me. And you've only got one guy who's like, that shit didn't happen. Like, you're not hearing Brian backing him up. You're not hearing Twerp backing him up. You're not hearing Aaron backing him up for anything. It was just Daniel Avidan having to come up against all these women and say, hey, that shit ain't true. Allegedly. Don't mind me, I'm gonna use Karen hands right now. Katie, who was a former employee of the game Grumps and NSP, shared a video of her play Bad People. Many online were recognizing similarities between person John in the play and Dan, along with like his allegations at that same time. And she later confirmed that the play was about Dan. To address what Lee Daniel Avidan had said with the first Redditor, while yes, it wasn't illegal and it wasn't illicit, you can't not say that it wasn't an event of like grooming. Grooming doesn't always have to end up being sexual. Like, we've seen that with the Colleen Ballinger thing, where it's more so like, I need you to become my closest, like my confidant, even though that you're underage. I need to mold you into the person that I want you to be, so when you turn 18, then we can start being like actual friends, or we can start doing blah blah blah. That is kind of what, and I mean, most actual predators don't wait until you're 18 to do stuff like that. That's why people associate grooming with a lot of pedophiles a lot of the time. Dan saying that it wasn't that, it's kind of like brushing over the fact that like, you still talk to them when they were underage. In your big ass age, allegedly, of like 30s, mid 30s at the time of messaging them when they were 17, 16. Close to turning to a legal age, but still young enough to be a multiple mind. It still happened. And while yes, you waited till the legal age to do something like that, it's still wrong. There's no way that you can look at what you actually did, allegedly, with this pattern and think that it was okay. Oh my gosh, his apology is so PR apology. Like, somebody definitely had to write that for him. Like, all it is just like, hey, I'm pointing out that what I did technically wasn't wrong. Legally. Morally, though. Morally, it was. I also mentioned in my script that I kind of feel like how Mr. GG must have felt when he started doing his Predator Chronicles. And it feels like that joke, oh man, like, I should listen to my old music. Oh dang it, oh dang it, oh dang it. And it's like Predator, Predator, in jail, dead, Predator. That's basically what this is. Two of my favorite bands back to back from 2010, 2014, 2014, 2018. Like, don't get me started. I feel like I could keep going on this series forever. Just these is the top two of the back to back. That's why after these young women came forward, Game Grumps went radio silent. The unfortunate part about being an online personality is that if you don't acknowledge certain allegations, I hate to say it like this, but that's exactly what happened. That's why so many people have had platforms for such a long time, and only recently, when like the voices keep getting louder and there's more and more people that have more to say about it, is when like they get in trouble. Game Grumps went radio silent about the entire thing. Dan limited a lot of his comments on his social media, so that was his Instagram. He didn't have a Twitter. A lot of the Game Grumps YouTube comments were also limited, and Twitter had limited replies on them as well. They just kind of kept moving on And it was at the same time they were releasing the 10-minute power hour, so they were starting that it was also being shoved down even more with new content. Look at this new stuff, and everybody ignore everything that happened in that last era. This is a new era of Game Grumps. Blah 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 blah. I could scream, honestly, because it's not the first time that Game Grumps have done this. They've kind of had like a blasé way of acknowledging things that they've done wrong. It's kind of like a half-assed apology of like, I'm sorry that this and this, and then the majority of their fan base is like, oh, we forgive you, like I didn't even see a problem with it. But the people that it was targeted at, like who the apology was supposed to be meant for, they don't accept it, but their acknowledgement of the apology is stifled down by the giant fan base that already loves them. I'll bring up the doxing incident, and turns out diehard fan base, they find the man and they start sending harassing messages and stuff like that. And then it didn't take until like a live stream where basically Dan was like, hey guys, like, wow, that was crazy, you shouldn't do that, that they were like, you're right, bro. My bad. Now we're reaching the very bleak ending of this. Unlike BOTDF, where Chris Hansen started an investigation into David Jesus, everybody kind of just moved on. Since then, Dan Avidan got married to long-term girlfriend Ashley Anderson in 2022. Congratulations. Congratulations. Also, according to their social blade, Game Grumps social blade, none of the allegations about Dan have really affected any of like the subscriber count or the views around the time that the allegations came forward. That's great. NSP has posted on their social media that they're doing a digital concert celebrating 15 years of the band. In their ticket prices, it includes a Q&A and a signed CD for their upcoming album. I guess that just brings us right back to now. Final thoughts, Aaron? I wish I were dead. That was my only other reference for this video, okay? If you're a Game Grumps fan, ex-Game Grumps fan, maybe you might get that one. I have to end this video the same way that I ended my BOTDF one. I know how badly I annoyed my family, my friends, my cousins, everybody with listening to NSP's original music and their covered music. I couldn't stop talking about Starbomb. I couldn't stop talking about Game Grumps. I was just all over it. And looking back on it now, I see where there was cracks in the foundation. Like, I should have seen where there were problems when it started. I wrote the fan fiction. I also wanted to be part of the Game Grumps, talk about a hostile work environment. That would have been wow. Poster, the albums. I was really thinking about getting an NSP inspired tattoo that Dan had quoted at a concert where it says forgive yourself. Really glad I didn't do that. I should stop getting so diehard into a band before doing all of my research on them. That's basically what I do now. Shout out James and the Shame and Glass Animals. It would be so funny if I shout both of them out and then 2 years from now it's like Glass Animals accused of actually making glass out of animals. On researching this topic specifically, I was still thinking about like maybe I could separate the art from the artist. There's like a lot of the times where you can't do that. There's like too much of like a person's actions that taints the actual art itself, and it just kind of draws you away from wanting to ever interact with the original. Yeah, that is definitely the end of this segment. What's worse is that I learned about all of this in 2020 because I had nothing else to do, because you know what happened? COVID happened. The woman was too stunned to speak. All of these allegations are alleged. All the bad words that they say, however, I'm standing behind that shit. They said it, not me. Alright? Oh no, you can see my script. What? No, what script? I don't know what you're talking about. But watch. I'm gonna look in here at my timer, which also uses the headset adapter, and it's gonna be in here. Found it. Don't keep flying out of my jeans. Hold on. Zelda. last night when I was trying to record this as well, I was having a crisis, should I say. Also, I turned off my fans for this, so recognize my sacrifices. I'm gonna end up as sweaty as Aaron Hansen was when he went to Griddle House and he ate half a pancake on social media. We're all Captain Motorcycle thinks you're a bitch. Okay. Like I said, NSP. Ooh, I lied. They also released a music video, The Decision 10. Fuck. This right here. This is dead. You know what? Okay. I guess I'm just gonna. You'll have to forgive me. I was feral back then. As if I'm not feral now. I was more feral. That's not even true. I was a different sort of feral back then. We're just gonna cut that part out. Headed. Ew. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Just say the thing. Following their release, I had already covered this in my existential crisis the night before. Juice Schubert, who's like I want to say he's an astrophysicist who quit his. Hello? Honestly, guys, like, if you. Sorry, hold on. Let me get back to the Danny texting cosplay. Bounded. You can't turn around and be like, hey, let me go ahead and take a break. They had a Filipino intern named Kevin, and he left pretty quickly. I think he was the only person on that entire team. They were like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with a whole white person team. I gotta stop using quotations, otherwise I'll get more. You in your big ass alleged age. You wanna say hi? Say hello. It's so great. Everybody like the woman was 2 stuns, which is some spicy tea. I wish I was around to see it the first time. Now I just gotta read about it. My parents will say that like Danny was like unattractive, which like maybe. Don't ask me what they've made since then. I haven't been keeping up with it. He's a Gen Xer. He is, oh god, I just had to think about that again. He is 2 years old, 2 years younger than my parents. Jesus Christmas. I'd be like, oh my god. Me here making content. I don't think that I could. Oh no. Take a step down. Down, girl.